This is TWiT, This Week in Tech, episode 38, our MacWorld special. Wow, this is great. We're at the Zeum, which is an incredible museum, a science museum for kids at Moscone Center, and we're in the Zeum Auditorium. Isn't this a nice facility? I think we might do this on a regular basis. This is just, it's great.
You could put on a Broadway show.
We could dance here. I mean, this is fantastic. We also want to thank the San Francisco School for Digital Filmmaking, who are helping us out with the technical issues here, because I don't know why. It's so difficult.
I'm just still stuck on the lumbering geeks trying to do a dance ensemble.
I always wanted to do a rap kind of. In fact, I want to do this with Dvorak, where we do a keynote where there's a smoke bombs and the flash pots, and we do kind of a rap, and we come out.
Sort of a 80s.
We need a lot of dancing women.
Yeah, then they take the attention. The Rockettes, exactly. So let me go around the table. We're still waiting for Steve Wozniak. He did say he'd come, but we just don't know if he was going to make it. He was in rehearsals all day today for something. So.
Broadway show.
He's going to be. Yeah, that's going to be great. Roger Chang is on the stage right here.
Hello.
Patrick Norton, good to have you. Patrick had to move the taping of DLTV back a little bit so to accommodate this. So thank you. I appreciate that, because Tuesday is tape night on DLTV. Did you get the show in?
Yeah.
Is it done?
Now we're encoding.
You got somebody else doing that?
We're uploading. Yes. I'll be back there on the.
Why did they make you work after 5?
Because
it's Ziff Davis, baby. John C. Dvorak, who's. He's Patrick's designated needler tonight, and he's been doing a good job already.
Thank you.
Yeah, well done. All the way from Canada, Amber MacArthur is here tonight. We're glad to have her back. And to Amber's left, it's Chris Breen from MacWorld Magazine, Mac 911, the Mac Daddy. Also the author of the fabulous, Secrets of the iPod and iTunes now, right?
Yeah, and also the iPod and iTunes Pocket Guide.
Small enough to fit in your pocket?
Small enough to fit in your pocket.
Just like your iPod.
That's right.
And all the way to the left, because we thought Apple was going to announce a Plasma HD TV, Robert Heron. He's the HD TV guy at DLTV.
Indeed.
Yeah. Did you have anything to do with the PC Magazine cover on the story this month on HD TV reviews?
I did.
Yeah.
Those were mostly my stories.
Yeah. This guy's going blind watching HD TV.
And now there's about a half a dozen more displays sitting in the lab right now while I was gone at CES.
So
it's pretty scary.
It's going to be a busy year.
So it was a very exciting keynote. It was kind of like a rock show, really. I mean, you didn't go, John. Who was at the keynote?
I just got the thing. You know what I did was smart money.
That's not the same.
The MacRumorsLive.com thing is a minute-by-minute breakdown. Works for me.
And that's every bit as good as being in there in person.
Yeah, it is.
Think? Yeah.
Well, come on. It's an Apple keynote, which means there's going to be applause at every announcement.
Yes. There's
going to be a huge number of basically engineers and Mac employees in the back to make sure if there's no clapping, the clapping starts at the back and moves it way forward. They take the journalists and they bury them in the middle or off to the side so that they're surrounded by enthusiastic people. They're brilliantly managed.
Oh, you think you're so smart. The Apple people were in front this time.
Yeah.
They were all over it.
I don't know if anyone's ever seen those old Betty Boop cartoons. But the audiences that they show typically with a Betty Boop cartoon with everyone's clapping and jumping up and down, hippopotamuses and whatever, it's pretty much the same thing.
So there was a hippopotamus?
It's in Steve's contract.
There was a couple of hippopotamuses.
In a tutu. Yeah.
Exactly.
Steve was kind of down today. I think he was actually sick.
You think he was down?
No, I think he was sick.
He was slow. He kept referring to his notes, which kind of surprised me. He's usually got that stuff.
He misspoke a couple of times, and that is not like Steve. I mean, if Steve could clone himself, he would have fired himself for it.
But I have to say that the anticipation, in stark contrast to the keynotes at CES, which were really duds, the anticipation beforehand, the excitement, people were running. They had the ushers saying, "Slow down, you're all going to get in." People were running to get in. It felt like, a festival seating at an Aerosmith concert. Let's get in there.
Yeah, that's very typical. But, actually, if you've seen a lot of Steve Jobs' keynotes, you kind of notice that most of the time he's like, "Hey, we got great stuff to show you today."
He was a little down.
We have some
He coughed a few
things,
and he coughed a few times. He was
and I thought there was some good stuff announced today, but he really wasn't kind of delivering that. This is incredible, and look at this and look at this. And I don't think it was because of the nature of the products, but rather I think he was sort of feeling under the weather.
Well, he was afraid of being hugged by Odolini again.
Now,
that's why he had that suit on.
We're going to get to the Odolini thing because I think there was a major faux pas that happened there with Intel, but I'm also very interested in the Intel-Apple relationship because it's not exactly what I would have thought. But we're going to get to that. Let's start at the beginning and work our way item by item through John's rundown.
Sorry, I got these notes now.
Yes. Okay, first of all.
People here, I'll start. 8:55. People are taking their seats. Item by item.
And the crowd's going wild. Look at that.
Yeah, this is unbelievable.
Now, let's talk about some of the numbers, because he did announce some spectacular sales figures.
100 sold every minute through the quarter. 42 million iPods sold since it was first released. 32 million in 2005.
And in the past quarter, they sold, what, over
14 million.
14.
Well, 4.5 during the holiday.
No.
14.
You're blowing
14
Steve's
million
big thing.
iPods.
Oh, that's,
in the
no, I'm sorry, you're right.
holiday.
It was 4.5 in holiday 2004, 14 million for holiday
That's right.
2005.
See, that's what Steve got a lot out of that. He said,
you don't have to take notes anymore. This is so cool.
John's in a journalist.
Thank these guys at Mac Rumors Live for doing this for me.
Wait a minute, 14 million iPods sold, and all of them, by the way, video iPods, right? Oh, except for the Nanos and the Shuffles, but a lot of video.
Did they not give breakdowns by item?
They didn't give, but that means a lot of video iPods. 42 million iPods out there is pretty stunning. Also, what were some of the other numbers? He said
83% market share.
They had a huge quarter.
850 million songs.
8 million videos in the iTunes Music Store.
They'll be at 1 billion songs in about a month and a half, about 6 weeks. That stuff doesn't knock me out. I think what's amazing is how many iPods they've sold.
At 9:18 a.m. he discussed the Jeep Dodge iPod integration.
That's right. That gives it. See, the problem with that list is it's not. There's no.
There's no context.
There's no context. There's no weight to it. He didn't spend a long time.
Yeah, but most people just want facts.
All right, give us some facts. More facts.
Well, I think that's about it.
Nothing else to announce. It's the rest of it's applause and
I can see that's worth it.
All right. He did show the software. Okay, let's talk about iLife 06, because I think that there was some neat stuff in that, including the ability to podcast directly from GarageBand.
Yeah, that's really cool.
You press a button and it's a podcast, uploaded to the iTunes Music Store. And what Amber and I realized is we sat there doing a podcast, and of course they shut us down.
We got in trouble.
What did you do?
Well,
if that's for me, I'll be done in about an hour.
We went over to we started playing with the new iMac, which is, by the way, well, wait a minute, we haven't got to that yet. Right. They don't know about it.
I just pause for a moment.
How about just talking about what some of the highlights were that as you saw them? Let's go to
the iLife thing. All right, you want to talk about Odolini? Let's talk about Odolini.
You're all over the map.
Wait, I gotta hold on. Stop. Do you guys want to hear about the iMac?
John bought me wine and plied me with liquor. I feel like
I'm 1/2 glass.
I'm looped.
We got a call for Odolini.
I'm legally drunk.
Let's
do the Odolini thing. Okay, Odolini at exactly 10:10.
First of all, not Odolini. Some smoke comes out,
right,
and a guy in a bunny suit appears.
10:09.
A guy in a bunny suit. If you're going to do this for the whole show, I'm going to have to take that away from you.
You want the details.
Through the whole, the guy comes out in a bunny suit, and you don't know who it is, and he's carrying a big chip. He's practically gets down on his knees to Steve and says, "Here, we are delivering you the chip." And then he takes off his hat. Now, I knew it was Paul Odolini, but at no point did anybody say, this is the chairman of Intel Corporation here. It could have been some guy from the fab. And they never, and Steve didn't say, ladies and gentlemen, Paul Odolini from Intel. They never. Did you see anything, Chris Breen? Did they CG it?
They said Paul Odolini on the screen.
Oh, I must have missed it. Yeah. They did say that?
Yeah.
Oh, well, never mind.
There goes the story.
Sorry.
Well, no, it doesn't, because, and then at the end they say, goodbye, Paul. And then that's when I figured out it was some guy named Paul.
Yeah. It was Paul McCartney.
Paul McCartney.
I think that maybe, Leo has the feeling that he was stiffed.
I thought he was stiff, but now I see that.
It sounds like he was, too.
He wasn't if they put it up on the screen, but they did it pretty quickly.
They put it up on the screen. There was no hug.
There was no hug.
There was no hug, and they hugged before. So the last time they had Odolini up there was kind of the brotherly, very male hug.
Oh, so
and then Well, I come down here, sir, and I'd be happy to. Kind of up.
Well, for anyone listening to the or to the podcast, that was disgusting. So you have to catch it on the video.
No, you kind of need a 45-degree angle.
It's the tent hug, yeah.
To make that okay. And also, again, I think Steve was sick, and so he had the suit on.
And he didn't want to.
Oh, that's the bunny suit.
I think that was it. He said, Paul. He said to Paul, "Look, I'm not feeling my best," and he said, "Look, I'm having a hard enough time, kind of this relationship to begin with."
I don't think so. Actually, this was the kind of, I thought the subtext of the whole thing was that Intel was surprisingly docile. I thought that they really acted like. In fact, they allowed, I don't know how this happened, Apple to do an ad that essentially said the Intel chip has been trapped inside of PCs all this time. Finally, it's free.
Yes.
That's the ad.
At this point, Intel's so nervous about
Intel's
AMD.
very happy about this.
I mean, surprisingly so. And if I were Bill Gates, I'd be a little bit miffed.
No, well, Bill Gates has been working.
Bill Gates, and basically Microsoft and Intel have been at odds for 5 or 6 years. That's right.
No, actually longer than that.
Well, yeah.
And this is apparent. This wasn't.
Apparent ever since the Windows Hardware Developers Conference and the Intel Developer Forum split and started promoting whatever version that Intel thought the hardware industry should go versus whatever direction Microsoft.
So is this the honeymoon phase, or do you think that there really is going to be a love match between Intel and Apple?
I think it's just maneuvering for best position, just depending on hey, Bill decides to flip the switch and say screw you guys.
Right.
We got IBM and they've managed to manufacture a bunch of Power PCs for our software. Granted, it's in a game console, but
I think it's a situation.
Wouldn't that be funny if Windows suddenly went over to the Power PC side?
Well, they did with the Xbox.
The Xbox, yeah.
But I think essentially you're just dealing with a vendor who's dealing with a typical Silicon Valley semiconductor company, and these guys tend to be kind of crummy to each other. They're mean, and I think you're going to see a fight take place. And I think within that,
in the long run,
here's everyone comes and you've been predicting this Intel thing forever, and so I'm going to predict something new. I think that Apple's going to switch to AMD within 2.5 years. Hey.
Well, if AMD can deliver a mobile part.
Well, and that's the only missing piece of the puzzle with AMD. There's no mobile part.
So
right now, there's
an okay mobile part, not a great.
Not as good as Intel's.
Not at all.
So let's jump to the chase then. I mean, obviously, Apple announced a new laptop, the Mac Core Book Duo, whatever the heck.
MacBook Pro.
The Power Weasel.
Core Dual.
I can't. What is the name of it?
MacBook Pro.
Pro.
Is that not the worst name you ever heard? The MacBook Pro?
Yeah.
The ProBook.
Why don't they just call it a Macintosh laptop?
Anyway, so the MacBook Pro, which I still can't remember the name of, but which is a pretty impressive product, and the new iMac, which is kind of depressing me because here's this this cheap $12.99 computer that's faster than my dual G5 tower.
Oops.
I mean, it's depressing. I mean, and we went over and played with it. Amber and
Can
I
you buy one of the new
really
iMacs?
fast,
Because
yeah.
once
The new
you buy
iMacs
it,
you can
the
order,
price
you'll
will
get
go
it by
down.
this weekend.
And I want you to buy one because the price will drop
I will.
by like $200.
I'll buy it.
Yeah.
That's right. Leo is the
That'll be end of life.
One time he bought one of those cubes, and they
still have
discontinued it the next day. It was unbelievable.
Same day I bought it, they discontinued. I got home and they discontinued it.
They just waited for you to put out your credit card and press
They
the
did,
button.
but no. Alex, Lindsay, and I are sitting watching the keynote, and we were ready to vault over the chairs and run to the Apple Store. And then he says, "But not the Mac Power
MacBook Pro.
Boy, you can't even
Core
get
Duo
mad.
won't be available until February." So I was disappointed, but I think I'll probably buy one of those.
I'm going to get one for sure.
They look great.
Yeah, they're beautiful.
Chris Spring, what would
Audience,
you?
who's got the cash to buy a $2,000 notebook?
Oh, come on, that's nothing.
You're not going to wait for the revision B?
Well, that's the question. Should we?
Yes.
I would.
Yeah.
Considering everything else.
He's got the
Apple's
right
I'm not
idea.
going to wait now.
This is their first Intel product. I wouldn't think.
I'm certainly going to pimp my employer for one.
Yeah.
I think. Look, they are. I am not kidding. They are spectacularly faster. I mean, this is.
Buy the 3-year warranty. And remember, don't ever throw it away, because when it breaks, they'll release the fix and the recall after you've thrown it out.
That happened to me with the
otherwise.
iBook. Yeah, I know what you're talking about. You don't have to look at me like that. You don't have to rub it in.
This is the
The voice of notebooks past.
I have to say, the speed of this. The first thing it makes me think is Apple's been lying to us about the G5 all this time.
Wait, haven't we been telling you that for like 3 years?
Like the ad.
what we
This
all
is the
know.
fastest computer in the world. It's so powerful you can't export it.
I think my favorite ad was the snail with the Intel chip glued on the back of it.
Yeah.
Remember that one? Yeah, they're going to live to regret that one.
But I mean, it's palpably faster.
So you actually, what applications are you running, and how was that apparent to
you first of all, you got to run the native apps, which means anything with OS 10 is all native now. Noticeably faster launch times. Launch iPhoto, the sample machines they had on the table there had 6,000 photos. Now, if you've ever used iPhoto with 6,000 photos, go and take a break, because you can't do anything with it. This thing, I made the thumbnails as small as possible, scrolled through the entire thing like that.
Like butter?
Like butter. That's Steve. Steve was sick because he coined that phrase.
Yeah, it scrolls like butter.
I don't know what that
How exactly does that scroll?
Steve must have been under the weather, because that was like...
That was odd.
It's like last tango in Paris.
Hey,
I think so.
you bring that reference up, I don't think anyone's going to get it.
What did I just say?
It's pretty gross.
He was in another world. Yeah.
Like, scrolls like butter.
FireWire is in there, but FireWire 800 is not in the laptop.
Yeah, they pulled that out.
So they do have PCI Express in the laptop, which is good news, because that, I guess, is that on the PC card?
Hey, someday there'll be a PCI Express mini card.
Yeah.
Eventually.
I guess that's good news.
Maybe.
Maybe a
I don't know.
Better than not having one.
Yeah,
There's only
FireWire
one.
400
There's only one FireWire 400 port, though. I mean, it is a little bit stripped down in that respect.
Well, you have to power all your first generation iPods.
Right.
Yeah,
No, I
all
use
of them.
FireWire still for hard drives. I prefer it for hard drives, don't you?
Sure, absolutely.
Yeah.
Can't really get the drives in volume anymore.
Or a video camera, you gotta have it, right?
TV use.
Yeah. No, I don't think they can for that very reason. Are they? You think they're gonna?
I don't.
I should say a question from the audience: are they going to face FireWire out?
FireWire 800 is pretty cool.
It's twice as good.
So were Amigas, but they went away.
It goes to 11.
It's one louder, isn't it?
Do you have? You actually have a FireWire 800 device?
That new Mac Store hard disk.
Is 800?
They got 8.4 and a USB.
Do you notice a difference? I mean, isn't the drive
I don't
slower
have an
than
800, any connection to 800. I don't know.
But he wants one.
Just like the look of the connector, is that it? Or?
No, I just think it's cool to say you have it.
Oh, all right.
It goes to 11. I like the magnetic plug.
That's great.
When Steve's, this was actually.
Oh yeah, how does that work? I didn't get to figure
read
that.
the notes.
I read the notes. I'm thinking, what are they talking about? Magnetic plug.
I thought Steve got off a good one, and I think everybody recognized it when he said, "Have you ever seen your PowerBook go flying off the table when somebody walks by and trips over your cord?" And that's actually everybody in this audience has had that happen. So this one is it's a plug. It has an indentation, but it's magnetic, so it goes like that.
So when someone snaps,
It pops right off.
Cool. That way you lose your connection and your battery's dead. You're hosed. But
Yeah, but at least your laptop is on the table still.
as long as your laptop says, so what about the data?
Are people tripping over these things a lot?
Yeah, it's
am I
pretty
the only
common.
person that carries
Really,
an
huh?
extension
Yeah.
cord with them?
And and somebody pointed out, I think this is probably a good point, that it would make it fairly easy to have, I don't know why you'd want this, a dock with a, you could charge a bunch of PowerBooks at once. Okay, I don't know why you'd want that.
You're rich or you're an IT.
I think it was the guy from ADS Tech. He was standing next to me, and I think he was just brainstorming at that point. So, okay, well, that's it for this edition of This Week in
Next
Tech.
week, ladies and gentlemen.
I thought there'd be a lot to talk about. FM tuner on the iPod.
I carry around an iPod so I don't have to listen to the crappy radio in San Francisco.
I agree.
Except for Pirate Cat Radio 87.9. Please, FCC, don't kill them.
SML
Oh, that's cool.
skits?
Yeah.
Sure.
Oh, yeah, we should get all that in there. Okay, so so in the iTunes store now you can buy Saturday Night Live. Old stuff.
Yeah,
Great.
the whole presentation, I kept thinking of the Steve Jobs spoof from Saturday Night Live at the beginning.
Oh yeah, that was.
I couldn't get that out of my head at the beginning. I kept thinking he was joking with all of the numbers.
The iPod Pequeño.
I know. I wish I could erase that from my mind.
Do you think that'll be for sale? Or will Steve ban it?
I thought he was going to show it. I think it should
SNL's
be.
done a bunch of Apple
Parodies.
The
Yeah.
best one I like is where they make the iNote, which is essentially a digital version of a Post-it note. But they come in the same size stacks, and you have to leave each one individually. When you're done, you throw it away.
And Amber, you may not have caught that Steve
with the 8-pound iPod.
Oh, yes, that was
I thought
really
that was
funny.
funny. One of our audience members who have been very talkative tonight. It's really a conversation
Get on
between us.
microphone.
We have an audience mic, but it's not up all the time, so I don't know what we... Yep, just aim it out there. Pointed out
You need a
that
shotgun mic.
when Steve made...
Those old mic.
Ones you used to hold and shoot at the guy.
I thought that was actually very funny when Steve did his Steve's Rumor podcast.
It was really funny.
You know, he's doing more stand-up now. Because at the music event, they were showing off the iMac with the built-in camera, and where they have that little application for
Photo booth.
iChat. Yeah, photo booth. And so he's like making faces at the camera and going, "Hey, look how goofy I look." And he's like doing a routine. And so now he's doing this. Hey, look, because he got such great reaction. I think that time he thought, "Oh, I really can be a much funnier person than I normally am." And so he was doing a bit today on that as well. And I think again, if he felt better, it would have been even better. But he's
Not
turned out to be
necessarily.
quite a laugher.
Sometimes when you're sick, like the time Willie Mays hit the 4 home runs in one game. He had the flu. I don't know. It's an obscure reference. I'm
Willie
sorry.
Mays.
Baseball player, San Francisco Giants.
Worse.
Pass the butter. So, any reaction to the new speed on these things
How
at
about
all?
talking about some other products that people...
Well, no, wait a minute. We're not done with Intel. I want to talk about Intel.
Okay.
Okay, I'm done.
Okay, well, I will say this. That everybody at the end of these things always says, well, what did you think of this thing? What was it like? And I thought this was a very nutritious sort of keynote. It's stuff that's good
Fiber-filled.
For you?
Well, what I mean is, there's like a lot of good protein and carbohydrates in there, but not a lot of sugar. So, like, there was no new iPod, which is like glittery, and everybody goes, "Oh, that is so great!"
Right.
It does this, it lights up, and it does that. And this was all stuff that needed to be done. We all knew about the Intel transition. Okay, good. Now we've got some Intel machines. That's good. We've done that. iLife 06 was necessary and expected. We all knew that was going to be coming along. So, okay, here it is. And every so often, every 4 keynotes maybe, Jobs kind of delivers on what needs to be done. This wasn't particularly flashy, but it was a good, solid.
I don't know. I thought it was really cool. I mean, I think these Intel iMacs are... And I was a naysayer. I mean, you had to talk me down. I was on a ledge.
Yeah, you were bad.
It's all over. And now maybe I've swung too far the other way. Maybe I'm bipolar.
You are. Or tripolar, perhaps.
many
But,
poles.
yeah, you may have swung too far.
I think it's... I mean, even I was... I said to Rosetta, well, the emulation, that's going to be a pig. Even Word runs very nicely on these in emulation.
Because you need that speed to operate Word.
Well, it's not challenging. It felt like a much faster computer. Safari, let's face it, has always been the Achilles heel of the Macintosh. People will switch to Mac and say, but what's with the browser? It's so slow.
Use
That's
Firefox.
because they didn't use Internet Explorer back in the day.
Well, even Firefox is slow because the Apples just are not.
Use Opera.
No, nothing's fast on a Mac, except now... Actually, Safari is snappy.
He means browsers. The rest of the stuff was really fast.
Why is it the browsers were slow on the Mac? I don't understand that. Tell me.
Ask him.
Ask him.
Why?
I have no clue.
He has no clue.
Bad processors.
Yeah, I think so.
Bad
actually.
processor.
Bad
That's what I
coding.
took away from
They're
the
all-
entire thing, was that these are all upgrades that were necessary to get
'Cause
them
we-
up to speed with everything that
We
have
weren't
on the PC
competitive.
side of things.
We were not competitive, yeah.
Well, except in a superior operating system and cleaner applications.
But they were running on
third
bad hardware, right? Yeah.
Not bad hardware.
I'm sure the people at Freescale should be here to
We've been playing
talk
with
to us
dual-core now
about this.
for what?
Why
a year?
Freescale?
2 years?
Well, they're the ones who did that.
And there's so many-
I mean, they're the ones who really
And now
marketed
we're
it.
finally starting to see the software, which is really a good time for Apple to jump into it.
Right.
Now the developers are actually taking advantage of it for the new consoles for gaming, but on top of that, it's also just all the other applications that can be ported over, like encoding. I can't wait to see. Well,
No,
That's
I'm
important
totally
to
with
me.
you. No, I'm totally with you. It's just like
no.
Well, that died in the vine.
Oh, I stopped mid.
Is there anything else on there, John?
No, there's nothing on here.
I liked iWeb. iWeb is really cool.
I thought the iLife suite was really a
I think
nice
so,
upgrade.
too.
I love the fact that
Well, explain
RSS
it.
is built into anything. Well, it's all incremental upgrades. iPhoto finally is tolerably fast.
Well, but they say that every time they release a new
Every time.
photo, they say, and they don't exactly say it sucks less than it.
But that's what that's the...
But I mean, that's sort of it's like and
That's the
faster
gist.
performance. Yeah,
100% less sucks.
every time it's faster performance, and I'm glad that it really appears to be that way.
Well, it was on a dual 2 gigahertz chip, Intel
Yeah, well,
chip.
that's okay. That's it.
Oh, okay.
And they're using.
Does anybody know whether they're actually using the dual core
Yes.
functionality? Because it does have to be coded for it.
Yeah, but
you can't just
OS
run
10,
any old thing in it.
OS 10 has always been SMP multiprocessor.
But don't the applications have to like toggle it in?
Yeah, they're all threaded. That's part of Cocoa. So In fact, I opened a processor. You have the processor monitors. I opened them up and play with them, and it was hard to peg them, frankly. I had to open about 10 applications, and it
or a
finally,
single instance of H.264 encoding.
That's true. But it was very hard to peg them. There's a lot of. This is in the dual 2 gigahertz iMacs. There's a lot of headroom. Those things have a lot of power. More so again than my tower, my dual tower. I'm happy. I'm very excited.
We can see your tower on eBay.
You want it? I'll sell it to you.
You gonna junk it?
I'll probably sell it. You want it?
Put it in the box.
You need a Mac. You don't have a Mac.
I'm using an SLI dual-core AMD machine that plays, some of these crazy games.
So how do you like that?
I tell you, the screen, it's like phenomenal. I mean, it looks like you're looking at a television, like HD TV, and it's like all being done in real time over these SLI cards.
What games are you playing?
Well, what's that one that everyone plays?
Here?
No, it's not
Call of Duty?
Half-Life. Call of Duty. What's the one that uses the SLI dual cards?
Oh, Tetris.
No, yeah.
Every game supports SLI.
It's one for Leo.
Do they all support SLI?
Yeah.
Is that automatic, or do they have to do something to do that?
Actually, within the drivers for NVIDIA, you can select profiles for practically every game nowadays.
But they don't have to code the game to take advantage of SLI.
It helps if they do.
Oh.
And that's what the custom profiles actually would optimize it better for the speed, but it's almost double in some cases.
Well, what's cool is that it runs Adobe Photoshop with both sides of the process, so you can do these things. I do use a lot of Photoshop apps or things I do with Photoshop, and it just speeds it up. There's no waiting.
He makes Burt Monroy cry like a little girl when he sits down in Photoshop.
Yeah, he does.
It's unbelievable.
It's like when
Burt
I speak
goes,
French in France, they start weeping.
Well, now the new Macs have what? Radeon X
1600.
Yeah.
The
Is that
mobility Radeon.
That's in the laptops.
Yeah.
The desktops have.
The nice thing with that PCI Express that you mentioned,
Yeah.
it's easier for them to swap out for new graphics parts
Right,
down the road.
right.
They could even go for different vendors if they wanted to later on, or offer different upgrade options.
The bus is much faster. I mean, I think that laptop is actually very attractive, specs-wise, anyway.
Yeah, the ATA X1600.
Do you really feel like that notebook was faster than your dual-core G5?
Yes, noticeably. It's
Do you think
depressing.
you actually were like
Maybe-
doing some pretty CPU intensive? It would beat it.
I tried. I even was running
Photoshop.
Photoshop in Rosetta, which is again, it's an emulation. It's not that. I'll tell you, Photoshop was not as fast, but
Sort
it
of
was.
emulation
It was.
modes, but-
Yeah, but I mean, it was very tall. I was very surprised. I did not expect a lot from the Rosetta, and it's surprisingly fast. I think really it may more be a measure of how bad it's been than how good it is now.
Sounds awesome.
Chris Breen, aren't you jumping up and down? Doesn't this make you in any way excited? You write for a Macintosh magazine. Please help me out here.
It's like an editor.
Yes. You can. No, I am. But I kind of. I've been to enough Steve Jobs keynotes that I always walk out going, "That sounds really, really good."
And there was no nano there. There was nothing there that would just make you.
He's
Thank
seen
God.
enough
There
of
was
this
no
stuff.
new iPod,
He's
because
seen enough of
I'm tired
it.
of reading my book. I am excited about the stuff that Apple's doing. It all looked really good.
It just needed to be done.
But I need to have hands-on time with it,
Right.
and then I can kind of verify where the problem is. And just like Patrick, I am concerned about any time they do a major hardware shift. That I want to make sure that I'm not the first in line to get one of these things. And people ask me, is it time to buy a new Mac? I wait a couple of months.
How many people here pre-ordered?
Nobody.
One
One guy. Two.
Wow.
How many of you would have pre-ordered if you were at home? That's an extra 4.
Same two.
It's not, that's interesting. I think there are a lot of people like you who are just
Guy,
sitting
they're going
back.
to buy two apiece.
How many of you don't care because you're Windows users? You're a very brave man, sir.
Yeah, so it all looks good. On paper it looks great, but
Say again?
Hold on.
Did it run really hot?
It was very hot on the bottom if you picked it up. But then that's how I like my laptops.
Flip it over and fry steak.
Yeah, baby. What about the abs?
The abs. You're starting to hear things now. It's going to be a risque show.
I'm gonna have to take the clean bumper off the
One
iTunes.
application you guys mentioned, is it like a front end for
PVR type use or anything?
Front row.
Okay.
And it is very much like Microsoft's, Media Center. It's interesting that even the laptop now had an infrared, so that you could use the remote on the laptop.
Let's actually.
Didn't it always have an infrared?
No, not like that. Not for the remote. No.
I mean, you were asking, is it kind of our commentary on Apple doing ads for something other than an iPod?
He's saying, I think it's really cool that Apple's only been running iPod ads, and it's time. I can't do the simultaneous translation. My nose is on fire.
By the way, he's ridiculing you, so you better listen to the podcast. And then contact your lawyer.
I'm just trying to give the people at home a flavor of what's going on.
I think it's going to be really interesting this summer when that $500, Mini comes out with a
Intel.
Yeah, with an Intel dual-core processor, and probably it'll put Dell into a fit of emotional trauma. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to watch. It's going to be interesting to see whether or not they can pick up some serious market share over the next year. And if Windows Vista continues to be the messy nightmare that it is, and if Windows Media Player 11, as I was promised yesterday, doesn't have RSS feeds, and if and if viruses and spyware continues to beat the snot out of Windows XP, I think it's a great time for Apple to pick up a whole big honking mess of market share.
Actually, I've just been informed that what did you say? Oh no, I say. Let's go back to Fringal. That if you have a question, you should, I guess, come down to that microphone.
Yeah, there's a microphone over here.
Because the problem is that they can't.
Well, let's talk about some of the other products that were at the show. Did anybody actually go look at the show, or just go to the keynote and then you didn't do anything?
Did you see anything interesting?
I liked some of the new products from Apple, so I just enjoyed playing with them. Like iWeb was really cool, and I think some of the stuff they've done to iMovie is also interesting.
We talked to David Pogue, who will come a little later.
It's pretty quick.
Wow. Who is that guy? He looks so familiar.
He's fast.
Looks like a superhero.
Ladies and gentlemen, Andy Walker. Ladies and gentlemen, Ricky Gervais, the star of the BBC's Office. So it's good to see you, Andy. You came down with Sean Carruthers. They're the Lab Rats.
Huh? LabRats.tv.
LabRats.tv.
We did 34,000 downloads yesterday.
Yesterday for your CES stuff?
CES coverage.
That's awesome. Congratulations. That's a really great show. You guys are doing a great job.
Thanks a lot.
Andy, of course, our former co-host on Call for Help until Amber filed a suit, but I understand you guys are going to...
That is not true, by the way. Not true.
I do have a question, though, Leah.
Yes?
My question is, did you notice that in the entire keynote, there was time slices of stage occupation? So, of course, Steve had most of it.
Right.
Odolini had about 30 seconds with his little suit and his puff of smoke there.
I felt bad for Paul Odolini. I thought that was a humiliating...
It was hugely humiliating, but I noticed that Microsoft...
So everyone feels when dealing with Apple in a presentation.
That's true.
Sorry.
But Microsoft got a huge chunk of time.
They did, and she wasn't very good.
And she was awful. Roz Ho.
Is she in the audience?
No, she's not. So I wondered what you guys thought, what you made of that. That Microsoft got top billing, basically second banana billing.
I think you're right. I think what it is Microsoft, Apple, Intel. Apple has to beg Microsoft to keep doing Office, and that's essentially what Roz Ho was there to say is, yes,
what was her name?
Roz Ho.
That's why I said it again, John. That Roz Ho said was...
Don't make fun of her name.
I didn't say make fun of it. I just asked what it was.
He just wanted to know what it was. The poor woman, her whole life has been... Unless she married into it, in which case she should never have taken his name. Anyway,
I'm sure what you're talking about.
Moving on before the lawsuits.
This is why the screensavers is no longer on the air.
Can you finish your story, Leo?
I forgot what I was talking about. No, I thought that what it looked like to me was Paul Odolini, and I think you're exactly right, Andy. This is where you're going. Was kind of in this humiliating brief. Here's the chairman of Intel in a bunny suit,
and a puff of smoke.
And smoke, and he's like, "Here, we bring you the chips." Meanwhile, Jobs is in exactly the same position with Microsoft, saying, "And now Microsoft's going to take over and bore you for 10 minutes with corporate speak." because we so desperately need Office. And I think that's exactly what you saw. I saw that too.
I'm somewhat stunned by the fact that over all these years that Office has been dominating the Mac and the Office environment, that somebody hasn't
come up with an alternative.
Nisus isn't anyone. Nisus still exists. It's great.
Well, I mean, how come it hasn't? They haven't in the background in a skunk works in some secret way built something that they could just all of a sudden we broke up with Microsoft and here's the new thing, and then they roll out a big product. They've had years and years and years to do this.
Well, that's always been the speculation that Apple is building a spreadsheet program, and I think you saw a little bit of it in Keynote, which now does calculation.
It's called iWork.
Which
got 15 seconds on it.
Right, I saw the iWork thing.
It's like this big a slice.
That was at...
See,
he didn't even mention Pages, which is their word processor. I mean, it's almost as if they were embarrassed. Oh, well, yeah, we have a word processor, but really, Word is what you should be using.
This all began when they dumped Apple Basic.
No, you know what?
So
this is actually
the solution is to bring
tell
back
the story,
Basic?
John, because
Mac Basic?
this is.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
No, this is actually. I think you're exactly right. This is a historic story that only a man as old as John would remember.
Well, I'll tell you when it happened.
But it actually is a telling story. Apple developed the most incredible BASIC called Mac Basic.
Mac Basic.
It was an amazing BASIC.
And I came up with this thing called Mac Basic.
How did you power
and what
the
happened to
computers
it, old
back then?
timer?
I don't remember. It just darn disappeared.
No, Microsoft killed it.
Yes, they did.
Bill Gates made a call to Steve Jobs and said, if you
actually, wasn't it Scully that did that?
Maybe it was Scully.
Yeah, it was Scully.
If you ship that product,
Sugar water boy,
you're toast.
You're toast. And they pulled it, and actually it leaked out. I used to distribute it on my bulletin board system, and it was just it was very slick. Yeah, I'll give you the number later. Actually, I probably still remember it.
BitTorrents.
2 modems, 1200 BPS, no waiting. And not one, but 2 20-megabyte drives. So it was, I think that's exactly what's happened. Even since then, that was 20 years ago. Apple still.
There may have been some sort of a deal we don't know about that was signed in blood. That
in midnight at the crossroads.
I mean, it's possible that there was some contractual obligation that was fulfilled, especially maybe when Gates did the $150 million deal or something.
And
but something took place, which is the only reason I believe, and that's probably why they trivialized the iWork thing at this presentation. I think, or marginalized it, because I think there's like a deal in the background, and then the woman specifically said they're going to at least keep this thing going for 5 years. That's probably when the contract runs out.
Oh yeah, she said that number. Exactly.
She gave a number. I mean, why would she say that? Why 5 years? Why say anything?
Right.
So when you start hearing
because
that
it's the digital decade.
Yeah, right. It's the digital decade.
You know, they did show one new feature in Keynote. It's got wood. No, I mean...
Don't encourage him!
No, I mean...
What was that woman's name again?
It's got wood textures. Like, why? There goes the clean tag, absolutely.
We have a clean tag. Wood is,
Why would they have... I mean, why... This is like the big thing, is that your bar charts can now have walnut, maple, or cherry.
In 3D.
In 3D.
Yeah.
That's a sign that there wasn't much new in the program.
I think so.
I thought you were getting your Google badge.
Oh, no,
Google Earth?
I have a Google Earth badge. The Google Earth's now on the Mac. I think that's a big announcement.
Yeah, that's really cool.
Did anybody but me see the Google booth at the show?
Yes, there was nobody there.
Nobody there. It was a little bitty dinky booth in the back, in the corner.
It was this big, and nobody was there. We went, and the Google people were in the speakers room, and we said, "Why are you in here?" They said, "Every time we go out there, they mob us."
They said they got swarmed.
So they came back
so
in.
Heaven forbid you come to a trade show and and people actually ask you questions, so you ditch them.
They had a bigger booth. Google is a strange company. They had a bigger booth at Podcast
Expo. Did you see their
Expo.
Keynote at CES?
Well, I heard it was
Podcast Expo were cheaper.
Yeah. Well, tell me about that. Everybody was saying it was a terrible, boring keynote.
Until they brought out Robin Williams.
It was awful.
They actually cut the feed for the Robin Williams part because I was recording it.
Because he also got wood, I hear.
Oh, it's
all right.
He said a few dozen things that probably wouldn't make it in polite company very well, but it was extremely funny. He managed to insult 3 different people from 3 different countries. He made weird references to German automobiles.
Yes.
And, yeah, it was just bad. But
There's got to be a bootleg of it floating around.
maybe. I have the portion of the video.
Anybody has a bootleg of it, send it to me and I'll blog it at dvorak.org/blog.
And there it is, ladies and gentlemen. The first plug. You know, somebody sent me an email, said there's a new TWiT drinking game. And every time Dvorak mentions his blog, you take a drink.
I wonder if that's derived from the Screensavers drinking game.
That's right. There was a Screensavers drinking game, wasn't there?
Yes, there was.
Do you remember what the rules were?
Something.
Let's not go into it.
Every time I plug my book, I think you took a drink.
Well, the guys would be plastered. Should have just called it the Leo plugging his book show.
Have I plugged my book once in this podcast in TWiT ever?
You just did.
Leo, I didn't know you had a book.
That's right. I don't have a book. It's all right. That's all right. I go on Regis to plug that. I don't need to do it on my podcast.
There was a new product from Adobe as well. I can't remember the name of it.
It was called
Salivate, I think.
No, it's
What was it?
Darkroom, not Darkroom. Sorry.
Lightroom.
Lightroom. It was an Aperture competitor. Yes.
Yeah.
What's with that?
What's that all about?
So did anybody get to see the product called IC?
Oh, I did.
What
I
is
saw
it?
it at CES and I really like it.
What is
That
it?
was pretty cool.
What is it?
Essentially, it's essentially a $199 video player, kind of a.
$300.
No, it's $250. But I'm saying what it's. I'm saying what it's
$275.
worth. So they've dropped it down.
Sold for $299.
See, at CES, it was like $279 to
No,
$399.
it was $250 here. But it seems to me that you can get these for $200 if you look around. There's a million from China. But the fact is, this has no hard disk, and you take an old defunct iPod, one of the old ones, and you shove it in there, and you use that as the hard disk, and it becomes like this cool video recorder. You can record, it's like a MPEG-4 recorder.
3.6-inch screen, 4 hours of battery life. Uses your.
And uses.
It has a camera in it. No.
No, it's a
DVR.
It's a handheld.
Mobile TiVo.
No,
What is a mobile
video.
TiVo?
No. It can record video, but they didn't have any
No, it's got no
programmability there. You can record video. It's more like a
what is it
mobile
for?
VCR.
It's for.
It turns an old iPod into an iPod with video.
You can take an old junker. You got your iPod, because everyone who buys these iPods, they buy the newest one,
Right.
and they got these old
I got a
clunkers
ton of
around.
them,
So
yeah.
you just shove it in here. Now you got a nice little video device. It's pretty
Except
cool,
that
actually.
You have to use a 4G or a 5G, so you can't go back to the 3G or anything earlier than that.
Yeah, it's got to have a dock
So
connector.
And how do you get video onto it?
Well,
Can you use
their-
iTunes?
No, you have to use their proprietary software, and the
Oh, but
first
you
release
can
will be
record right
Windows
from the
only.
VCR. You
Yeah,
can
so
take it.
it also has an audio, video in and audio in.
Dongles.
Basically, you can.
I see. Oh, he's got one. Oh, no, he's just got a piece of paper with a picture of one.
By the way, that's just as good.
That one's only $49.99. If you have any other questions, just come down here.
I thought it was a good idea for people who have these old iPods and they want to recycle them.
Yeah, and actually, the interface is very nice. A couple of people from Apple, the old Apple days, one of the original Mac developers is the software engineer behind the thing, and it really has a nice graphical interface. It does video, it does audio,
All right.
it does photos. It's got a bigger, brighter screen than the iPod Photo. $250. It's kind of a nice way to use that old iPod, and
It's a little expensive. It shouldn't be that high. It should be $150 to be honest about it. But
Well, yeah, I've been looking for something for the iPod video for like my daughter, so instead of having to get a full-fledged portable DVD that I can put in the car with just like a dumb monitor that I can plug
Perfect
my
for that.
iPod for video back there and say, here,
Right.
do this.
It's perfect for that.
Yeah, because you've got tons of video on these things anyway, so you might as well use it. So this is close, but not quite it.
was
Like a
anybody?
portable player with a 7 or 9-inch screen's out of the question.
And not for most. of
Not
us.
yet. Did anybody?
much money.
Was anybody baffled by the fact that Hall D? Normally Mac Expo has the two halls. Hall D is usually filled with all kinds of cool little gadgets. That was closed. They had one hall. Period.
Yeah, and that makes sense after the last couple of years because they've been doing the two-hall thing, and then increasingly these black
It's way
curtains
spread out, yeah.
everywhere, and you
Yeah.
sort of wander around in the other hall, and it's going, well, there isn't really that much here. And I think this adds a little more excitement to the show, that everything's packed together, there are no curtains anywhere, it's all in one place. There are 300 vendors, I guess, which is, I'm not
It's
sure
not
how
too
that
bad.
compares.
Is that more, or you don't know?
CES at 2,500, so slightly smaller.
Yeah, but does CES have this?
This is a podcast, Leo. You can't. You're doing
This
visual
is
jokes.
Somebody gave me this. I'm wandering around. Power Support's the name of the company. It's a little keychain size screen cleaner. I'm not kidding. Go ahead. Clean it's perfect for your camera
It's a
phone.
half a postage stamp.
Oh, it's cool.
With a
It's
seal
good. This
thing
is
on it
like
so you can scrape your screen.
this has got like some sort of a fiber
Just
carbon fiber.
don't
thing.
get the metal on there because you'll scratch the
Mohair.
mohair. It's a little piece of mohair.
There's a question.
We have a question from the audience.
Yeah, I was just going to comment and ask about the Keynote. I agree with you that it was updates had to be done, but for the MacBook, everybody wants the portability, and the main thing I thought about in it was the battery.
Well, it's going to have, I think, better battery life. Yes.
Well, you got to think the top end is 1440 by 900. It's got a 1.83
and a brighter screen. They said as bright as a cinema display.
Brighter than a 30-inch. You can get a 100 gigabyte, 7200 RPM drive in it.
I thought it was a 52.
No, it is 54, but you can order
order. Yeah, you can get 100 at 72, and then you can also get 120 at 5400.
Right.
How's that thing going to even last on the battery?
That's the whole point, though. Higher power, lower watt.
And the 256 megabyte also on the video RAM. Yeah. How's the battery going to last on?
Well, nobody said anything about batteries.
No, it's not posted anywhere. That's the thing.
Gasoline powered.
And you make a good point because they probably would have been touting the battery life had it been improved battery life.
I thought maybe you would have
5.9.
5.5, I thought.
It's fairly light.
It's going to
fairly light. You call that fairly light?
It's a 60 watt performance hour battery. They had a description on it, but it never gave the time.
I think you might be right. The fact that they left that out may be significant.
Also, John, thanks. I typed that up for Arnold Kim for Mac Rumors today.
Oh, you did?
Oh,
cool.
This is your transcript?
You did good work. Give a round of applause, yes.
What's your name?
Rob Massung from Penn State University.
There you go.
Did you have to look at your badge to do that? I'm wondering.
Yeah,
you looked at his badge to find out his
I
name.
used a 15-inch PowerBook with a Verizon card, and he had another guy on the phone, but I had an iChat room going with my buddies back
So
home.
you were using EVDO, and that worked pretty well?
Yeah. No drops at all.
Nice.
People are taking their seats.
I typed that.
Deathless pros. Well
Applause,
done.
I typed that.
Well done.
An instant classic.
Yes.
All right.
Did anybody?
It's almost as good as Scrolls Like Butter.
Did anybody look at the? One of the things I was noticing is this. All these add-on speaker systems, and I don't know. Does anybody? Maybe I'm wrong, but James Lansing was there with a bunch of weird speakers, including one that looked like Darth Vader's helmet, and they sounded to me just terrible. I mean, we're talking about.
Wired or wireless?
I mean, blood coming from my
you're
ears.
talking about JBL.
The speakers that you add the iPod to, and it's just like I got blood coming out of my right ear, then the left. It was unbelievable. Maybe it was. I thought they were tinny.
For the JBLs?
Yeah.
They're also sitting on top of a platform in an open room.
Yeah, I
You probably
guess.
didn't have your music. A lot of the really funky shaped speakers.
There's the one right there.
Sound awful.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are atrocious. But they look cool.
They do look cool. It looks like Darth Vader's
They're
helmet.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
A
That's
little sort of looks like a gnome
the critter.
hat at a black
The creature. Creature, yeah. Yeah, they've been selling that for a while.
I mean, I'm also
No,
using
I said
two
I didn't notice them
W601s and a
before.
100-watt amp. That's my speakers for my desktop. So
That's the way to go.
yes, it is. Especially when the neighbor across the cubicle pisses me off. Fire up the Hank Williams.
I use Clip-Shons
It's
for
a
my
shame that you're in a cubicle.
Yeah, well,
He's still in a cubicle?
I took the money over the office door.
Well, that's probably a smart move. I also got a shot of the. They had the big screen with the big thing, and I got a shot of that guy and then all that was missing was the girl running down the aisle with the big hammer. Did anybody pick up on the fact that this was exactly the same model that they had in the 1984 commercial with the big screen and the big head?
And Jobs is going, Ich bin ein Berliner. Did you notice that they kept showing Al Gore in the audience?
During the keynote.
During the keynote. Yeah, they kept showing Al Gore in the audience. And then Gavin Newsom, the mayor of San Francisco, goes up to him and shakes hands, and then they kind of almost pose for the camera up there.
They'll be at each other's throat in 8 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Well, isn't Al Gore doing a television station or something?
Yeah, what's the name of that thing?
Current.
Has anyone ever seen that?
I've watched some of the stuff.
It's dreadful, isn't it?
I don't know. I only watched 3 minutes of it.
3 minutes.
Sounds like a lot of people describing Tech TV in the early days.
Well, it is. It's an idea that we had at Tech TV briefly.
We still describe it that way.
Oh, there he is, ladies and gentlemen. Al Gore is.
Hey, where is Al? How come he wasn't doing the show with us?
I almost ran up to him, but then there was this barricade.
Hey, Belkin had a
tackled
good
me.
product.
What was that?
Can I just fill an audience with this woman? I could just get big laughs. They had a cool. I guess Belkin. No, Belkin's got some pretty cool stuff. They had a ultra wideband USB lash up, and you saw it. What'd you think?
It's awesome.
There you
Says
go.
The audience.
How long before it ships?
No, it'll be shipping like right now. But what it is?
Tell us what it does.
It's essentially it's pretty much a point-to-point thing. But you have your printer, and you stick the little antenna in there, and then you have this little ultra wideband thing, and you can just be 10 meters away, and it'll just zoom it over there, full, 400 megabits per second, right to the.
Wireless USB.
It's wireless USB is what it is exactly.
I'll believe it when it actually ships. I've been following the chipsets for a year.
Now, I know what you're saying. I agree with you in theory, but the Belkin people have been doing pretty good work recently.
By the second quarter of this year, they're supposed to have ultra wideband for distributing HD video as well.
This does that.
That's the other form of
HD?
USB.
Yeah, they were showing an HD feed. They claim you can do HD.
How much is it?
$5,000. No, it's like $200 or $125.
Wow,
it's
that's
cheap.
great. Airport Express, what?
$125. Yeah, but this is a different situation. This is ultra wideband doesn't have a lot of range.
So you say the question, and I'll speak into the microphone.
$99 Ethernet card, and $10 for the cable, or maybe a wireless. Yes. Yes, I am a cynic. Thank you very much.
Cables.
Okay, here's the one I was looking for.
Frugal.
What's your name, sir?
What about running Windows on these machines? Nobody's talked about that. And Apple has said they won't stop you from running Windows on it. It uses a different BIOS. It doesn't use a standard BIOS. It uses EFI, which is the Intel new standard for modular BIOS. You have to write some drivers, but it's apparently doable.
So you'd have to write drivers
Who
for
would
it.
want to do it?
I think somebody's going to want a dual boot machine.
Okay, yeah, they probably would, and maybe Linux while they're at it.
There's stupid people in every walk of life. Well, no. I may be carrying this, but it's not because I particularly want to. So get off my ass about the thing. And it'll happen. If it isn't done
This is
by,
called
like,
playing
tomorrow,
to the audience.
It'll be happening in the next 2 weeks.
That's exactly.
Like, don't.
Moi?
Yeah, it'll happen very quickly.
One other thing, I don't know if you guys were at the very end, after the show was over, after the keynote was over, Steve Jobs walked out of the auditorium with Andy Grove. They went side by side talking.
Really? Andy Grove?
Yeah, Andy Grove was there.
I'll be
they
darned.
went out together, and Paul Linney, unfortunately, was a couple steps behind.
In his bunny suit?
No, that was embarrassing.
Did they go into the back and exchange souls?
I can play the blues!
John, you're assuming they have souls.
Good point. You got me on that one.
Andy Grove's chairman emeritus, but he doesn't have any role at Intel anymore, does he?
Oh, I'm sure he has no sway at Intel whatsoever.
All right.
He's probably just there to kvetch.
He have ways of making.
If it'll make a chip.
Well, I think it will run Windows.
I'm sure it will.
I'm going to say it will run it, and I think it will do it with the sort of unspoken blessing of both Microsoft and Apple.
Yeah, you know what? There'll be something missing. There'll be like a key that you have to have, and it won't have it. I mean, there'll be some. I guarantee there's a gotcha if they try to run Windows on that thing.
Well, I think
intentional.
They could certainly.
No, I think it'd just be the way Apple is. I don't think it would even be intentional. They don't have to be intentional. These things just happen.
Well, why not? I mean, why not make it work with Windows? Because they sell more Macs because people are tired of running lousy PC laptops. So they want a dependable laptop. You can run both operating systems and Windows nearly natively, because you look at virtual PC, they can write this thing very close to the hardware. So instead of getting lousy virtual PC speeds, you're getting real Windows speeds. If I'm working currently if I have a Mac at home and a PC at the office, and I have the opportunity to get one machine that runs both really well, why not?
In fact, I thought that was kind of the key, like the brilliant part of the strategy was that Apple would become one of the top flight Windows.
Yeah, no, I think that's absolutely the case. I think there'll be the premium machine eventually, running both the operating systems.
So why didn't Steve address it? Was it why,
I don't think he's going to start. I think that's down the road.
Like he's stepping into the dark side.
No, I think it
was painful enough, like being
there.
nice to Intel at the developers conference 6 months ago.
Yeah, there's the 5-year deal.
Yeah.
Right. As soon as that's over, boom, things change.
No, it's good for Microsoft. It sells copies. Why would Microsoft not want it? I mean, that's a good thing. It sells copies of Windows, right?
I mean, doesn't Microsoft own?
I guess.
Connect virtual PC.
They make more money off of Office, don't they?
They make a lot of money off of Office for them.
You know that, Dan?
Definitely.
Yeah.
The most
Is Scoble here?
part of software.
No, but I ran into him at CES and we talked about this very thing.
And now Scoble is, of course, he became well known as a blogger, but he is the product manager for Vista, Windows Vista, at Microsoft. What did he say?
We were talking about this very thing about Apple's computers running both Windows and.
He'd probably have an inside track to that.
Well, he said, I don't really sort of deal with those things, but I see that as a win-win for Microsoft.
Yeah, I think that's right. Yeah.
So obviously somebody up there, way up the food chain, gets it.
Well, although I don't think Robert speaks for Microsoft necessarily.
Does any people that work at Microsoft use a rubber stamp for their business cards? I mean, seriously.
Visit our website.
Scoble is, I think, he's given free reign at Microsoft, but I don't know if he speaks for Microsoft.
No, nothing of this was official. We were just sort of tossing the idea around.
It's good for why wouldn't they? Except maybe that Dell would get upset, or I don't think Microsoft cares if Dell's upset.
No,
what is Dell going to do, right? We won't use Windows anymore.
Well, there was a moment during the case where Microsoft did strong arm Dell because Dell had released a bunch of Linux boxes early in the game, and then they pulled them.
Yeah.
Now, of course, you can get them, but they care about this.
They don't advertise it.
Well,
you have to ask for it. Right?
Yeah. I mean, at one time they were pushing it.
They have it's like under the counter. You got Linux on those things? Yeah, but shh. Knock 3 times.
It's a special version of Windows. Wink, wink.
Yeah. No, I'm sure it'll happen. In fact, I think that's one reason somebody should immediately on this panel buy an iMac and try it.
You already.
Oh yeah, I'll do it.
Yeah.
I'm made of money.
That way the price will drop.
Yeah, and the price will drop. So another thing I saw at the show. I guess not.
Do we think all 7 versions of Vista will run on it?
I think you're up. Is it only 7? I thought there was more than 7 by
It'll
now.
run version 1, 4, and 6. Does it run OS 2? There would be a product. You'd like that, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
John?
I would.
Yeah. OS 2. Many banks still use it.
Oh, the pain. No, OS 2.
OS 2. Slowly I turned.
Was there another? Wait a minute. Before you go, hold on a second, because John, you said there was another thing
There's
you
another
saw?
product that I like there that people should check out. And I think it's kind of hard to find. I think maybe some people didn't want to see what this was, but there was a little booth over by the Google booths called Live Worship. And it's a religious product. And, you laugh. But
no, that's not me laughing.
There's plenty of people out there that could find this useful. It was an interesting, and I think you should check this out, it was an interesting competitor with PowerPoint. And it was designed for, it's actually got more versatility than PowerPoint because you can bring up any slide you want. The reason for this thing, I don't think there's a big
It's not
market.
denominational, right?
Many people don't know that John was a Dominican priest for many years.
A Dominican priest?
Yeah.
A Dominican priest. I don't think so. But anyway, the point is that this thing is...
Does he look like he was a priest?
A little bit.
Father Dvorak?
I got a problem.
You know what? I think someone should Photoshop John in a Pope outfit.
I'd be looking good. So anyway, the idea is this was used mainly for these mega churches have these rock bands that come in and they do these light shows, and so apparently they came up with this thing so they could project all this kinds of interesting quotes from the Bible and whatever on the thing. Verses. That's what it is. And I was looking at it going, that's a quote. It's a quote from the Bible.
Quote from God.
But the point
This man used to be a priest, ladies.
The point is that it's a very cool product, and I think you should check it out, especially if you do a lot of public presentations, because I think you can do some things in here that you can't do with the normal presentation software.
Does it have wood textures?
No, but you could probably, it's probably got plugins.
Import my satanic.
Anyway, so I just thought that was a good off-the-wall one.
Delicious Monster's good too.
Isn't that amazing? Delicious Library, yeah. That is an amazing product. That's one of the most beautiful products. It's a library program, and I never really understood. I don't know if there's a big market for people to catalog all their DVDs, books, music. But if you're ever going to do it, it's great. It uses the eyesight to scan the barcode. It'll go to Amazon, get the album art, puts it in a 3D thing on the shelf, downloads reviews.
So it's the perfect thing for nutballs.
Obsessive compulsive nutballs,
not
actually.
all of us have your elephant-like memory for everything they
What was that?
This is my memory falling on
Who's
the
hiding
floor.
the Diet Coke?
Hands off the Mr. Pibb and no one gets hurt.
Is it?
It's really good.
Oh,
yeah.
it's beautiful.
Comic Life won an award. There were some awards, I guess, that were presented. I don't know.
Yeah, I
Is
saw
that
the
Mac only software?
Comic Life, yeah.
Was the Comic Life the one where you can put yourself in a cartoon?
Yeah, it's really cool.
It's
and yeah, it's a
fantastic.
really beautiful program.
It's only $20 or something. It's dirt
Yeah, it's
cheap.
really inexpensive.
Plask is the company, Plasq, and I think Metaverse distributes it, but they essentially Freeverse, not Metaverse. Metaverse is Adam Curry's ISP. I don't know. I'm sorry.
plug for
I'm
Adam
sorry.
Curry.
I don't know where that came from.
Thank you. Thank you, Leo.
MTV VJs for 30, Alex. Freeverse, thank you. It's a cool program though. It actually interfaces with your iPhoto library, so you could just drag pictures out of iPhoto, and then has a variety of comic styles, and you could put bubbles on it and stuff. That's great.
I saw it. Yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah, Comic Life. Yes, sir.
Well, a special hello to Amber, fellow Canadian here.
Hi there.
Question for the TWiT panel, or I guess that's sort of a half-eaten donut there, but 1 million .Mac users right now.
Which seemed low to me. Didn't that seem like a low number?
Yeah, but here's an interesting question. So now we have iWeb, and what is that going to do? What are your thoughts in terms of the growth in .Mac usage? Is that going to drive a lot of people? I think for myself, I was really attracted to what I saw. So that's question one. And then second thing is, in terms of the workflows, Leo, you've talked a lot about the workflow to create a podcast being, a little bit of magic, a lot of work.
I was depressed.
A lot of experimentation.
It made it look so easy. I thought, oh, there it goes. Everybody's going to make one now.
Exactly.
Jeez.
So what was your? So I'll just leave you guys to talk about those two things: podcasting workflows, and what do you think is happening with iWeb and .Mac in terms of growth of .Mac, and is that really viable?
I think iWeb is a great program. I don't know if everybody's had a chance to learn a little bit about it, but I think it really takes a lot of the tools that are built in to the Mac and makes them integrated and really easy to use and really easy to share, more importantly. So you can share, your iPhoto pictures, you can do a podcast.
This is like a blogging software?
Well, it's not just, it's really about creating your own website.
Yeah, was it blogging type websites or live journal websites or MySpace?
You know what it is? It's MySpace. It's a much nicer, cleaner MySpace.
It really is.
So you can drag your iTunes playlists, for instance, right to it, and it will.
Mac people can date faster and more efficiently.
No, it leaves out. It actually leaves out a lot of that.
Have you been on MySpace?
It leaves out the good. It
leaves out the sleaziness.
Well, then it's not going to go anywhere.
No, people bring the sleaziness. If the sleaziness is
well,
not built
put it this way: for the average person who doesn't know how to build a website and doesn't really take advantage of all the tools they have in their Mac, like iPhoto and iMovie, it makes it really easy to put all that information online and be able to share all that information with RSS.
So it'd be good for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's good for anyone. Literally, in a few minutes, you could set up a website.
He's never made a website. It's
you don't even blog or anything.
It's a trend.
It's a sore spot.
Yes, it is a trend. Good one.
You haven't updated your blog since St. Patrick's Day.
Nope.
We made him. We said you're going to do a blog on St. Patrick's Day. He did. Hey, by the way, this is the 1-year anniversary of the first TWiT pilot, which we did sitting around the
we
table.
Didn't know it was a pilot.
We didn't know, but it was at the and you were there, and you at the 21st Amendment Brewery. So anyway, I just thought I'd throw that in. I can't remember why I brought that up. I think actually it's telling that only 1 million .Mac accounts have been sold. I mean, how many millions of Mac users are there?
How much does it cost?
$99.
I think it's a little expensive.
Until now, there's really not
$99 for you have a lifetime website.
A year.
$99 a year?
I think it's too expensive. Really.
Brother, that's pretty steep.
And I think that's been one of the problems. Hey, David Pogue is here. That's great.
And ladies and gentlemen, David Poe's brother is here too.
Roger, why don't you let David come on over here and come on, David. Thank you for coming over. Yeah, David Pogue was
almost over. Thanks for showing up.
No. He was at the Apple store where he was doing a competing event. Did you have as
crowd
many?
Is easily 5 times this size.
That's what I thought.
It's a joke.
So you were doing. What were you doing? You were doing Secrets of Tiger.
Dave's faves, top 25 undocumented tips.
Yeah, that's good. So we actually talked to you a little bit in the press room, and you were underwhelmed by iWeb.
You know what? I have since had a personal demo by Mr. Schiller, and I asked him all the questions we had, like, does it have to be .Mac or can you just save it out as HTML? And the answer is yes. And you have to use those templates or can you be much more random? And the answer is yes. So I'm more whelmed.
Did you ask him if it can be less than $99?
It's already less than $99.
No, he's talking about .Mac.
Oh, I'm sorry.
iWeb is $79.
iWeb.
Well,
right.
$79 with 5 other programs.
No, that's a good deal.
Let's talk about iWeb. We really didn't discuss it.
That's what we were just talking about.
Look,
no, I'm saying. Wait.
I'll go out. We can do the whole thing again.
It lets you create a website really easily.
Explain it rather than just going on to what it what it costs or whatever. I mean, what does it do? What is iWeb? Because I didn't see the demo of it.
It's a basically a drag and drop page layout program that with one click becomes a website. It handles blogs for you and podcasts and RSS feeds. It broadcasts.
It's the MySpace thing. It's it easily allows you to make a web page.
What was this other one? iMac, iWeb.
You don't have to.
iWeb, iMac,
iWeb is part of iLife 06.
So confused.
It's the.
He's an unfrozen caveman lawyer. Your modern world confuses and frightens him.
It does. It does, absolutely.
Finally,
there's iMac, there's iWeb, there's .Mac, I don't know.
And then there's the MacBook Core Duo Power.
The PowerBook history, whatever it was. Yeah.
Thing. Oh, my God.
I got a great book for you, John.
It's one of your books. Yeah, I want it autographed. But don't put my name on it because then I can't resell it.
Oh,
it's just a regular autograph.
I usually just write to eBay customer, Leo Laporte. I find that's the best.
Yeah, that works.
Strategy. So, David, what did you think was interesting in all of this today? Anything?
The Intel. I mean, the Apple logo makes an appearance like this. Blink, and it's over.
Yeah.
It's really fast.
It's a significant difference. They're going to have to fix that, though.
Yeah, they're going to have to put some pauses, some no options.
All you got to do is install Microsoft Office, and you're back to where you started.
Actually, I was surprised how well, given that it's an emulation Office and Photoshop run. They really do a pretty good job.
Exactly right. I opened a file filled with photos and funny layout, and it was nice and sprightly.
Yeah. So you like the speed, then? See, I've been trying to get these guys to acknowledge that there is a big difference.
You're just going to buy it. Just buy it.
All right, I'll buy it.
Trying to sell us.
Buy it, the price will drop, then we can buy it. It's the way it's worked for years, Leo. No need to fix it now.
So let's go back to this iWeb thing.
No.
What? I just want to know, because you know what? Because our buddy back here is going on about, I'm never going to do a web. I'm just going to use this from now on because it's going to be so much easier. Does it do blogging? Does it do anything?
Your notes, John. Read my
I have to say, your transcript's a little thin on the iWeb. Or the iMac.
How about a nice viewer question?
It actually does a good job with podcasts. It does a good job with blogs. I was pretty impressed with it.
None of us has actually used it.
Well, I played with we played with it
a little bit.
You guys are just basing this on demos.
No, we played with it.
We sat down
and we've done a website and sustained it over.
Well, we didn't actually publish one today, but we did play with it.
I think we got somebody over here that.
Nikki, what do you want to know, Nikki?
Well, my question is looking at this new Intel PowerBook, whatever it's called.
I believe you want MacBook Pro.
I cannot remember this name, I swear.
There's many problems with it that people aren't addressing. Like one, the remote, it's just going to float around the bottom of somebody's bag. It's a selling point for Apple to charge you $50 if you want the IR, which they should use radio frequency. The laptop is extremely hot. If men put that on their lap, they're going to have no children.
Right. Which is not necessary. That could be a selling point. It's not.
I'm going to buy one for every guy I know.
Have you ever looked at some of these Mac owners? Come on.
I don't know if you've taken a look around the room here, but I think...
But what about the selling price, though? For that price, honestly, I'll just go buy a $600 laptop at CompUSA and download OS 1086 for the same thing.
And then it'll break in 6 months.
The pricing point is too high.
Because Mac products never, ever break.
No. He's talking about the fact that Apple just make it so it doesn't work in 6 months. I mean, Nikki, you might do that, but not most of us. Most people are not going to do that. I mean, I think that if you want a Mac...
So you didn't like this thing, apparently.
No.
Well, you're the only one here that I think that feels that way.
But see, I honestly don't get questions like that. Like, it reminds me of Gmail when it came out and how it would put ads off to the right of your incoming mail based on a scan of the content. And everyone's like, oh my God, they're looking in my underwear drawer. They're going to know my innermost thoughts. And I'm like, first of all, it's software, and second, you don't have to use it. So if you're worried about the remote control, throw away the remote control, and then you have a PowerBook like it was before.
No, but my question is, why don't they have the remote use radio frequency instead of IR?
You're still going to lose it in your bag.
No, but I mean, wouldn't it sell better? Because line of sight, I thought they're getting rid of IR. I thought it was like...
Yeah, IR is a strange choice. Why not RF? Absolutely.
Right.
Well, because you're not standing behind your PowerBook watching movies.
Exactly.
Right, but if you've got it set up somewhere...
Whoa.
No, I mean, that's the point of front row. I mean, that's the whole idea.
What's the whole point of putting a remote with a notebook that you're going to have sitting in front of you?
Well, no, it's across the room. Yeah.
Right, but what if you're not
So what if
facing
I
it
close
and you're...
it and leave it running?
How are you going to navigate
driving my HD TV?
Actually, I have an answer for that. This thing has a driver for the 30-inch display, this laptop.
That's right.
And the IR receiver is not on the lid, but on the lower half facing
But won't it go to sleep if you close it?
Not if you... I don't know. Can we cut to a commercial?
Yeah, I would really be. I would doubt that there wasn't a toggle that doesn't. That
There should be.
There will be.
Because it's a great. Otherwise, then it's a great media
Yeah,
center.
I'm sure that's why it was designed that way.
Yeah, it's a media center, and I think it's a great idea. And then,
If you close it, you can continue to watch.
if you close it, you can continue to watch the
Well, see,
movie
the remote
on the
is a
screen.
good idea.
Yeah, but then you're doing one of these jobs.
and
that's Leo repeating what the audience is saying, folks.
That's the thing with the IR. It's a good idea to have the remote,
Somebody's
but
gotta
like when
do
I'm in a hotel, and I'm not going to, if I want to set it up and watch a movie, I have to be right in front of it. Why
I'm not
didn't
going
they
to take
do
the
it
time to hook a
RF?
notebook up to a hotel TV. I'm going to sit there and watch this.
By the way,
on the
this woman has OS 10 running on a Sony PlayStation Portable. I am not kidding. She does. I don't know how legal it is, but
So I'm not sure she's speaking for the masses.
as the masses, exactly.
Well, I think she's got a good criticism, though.
Well, nobody else does that. Why should Apple do that? Oh, I suppose you could program it to.
There's probably a code.
Yeah, you could
Or
program
you could
it.
probably do some of them you can program, so you can.
That's a good idea.
Yeah, and I actually did this with the new iMac because they have the same
Same
remote
thing,
there, and
yeah.
I used Belkin's
I
Media
know that
Center
stuff works.
keyboard.
Did it work?
Fine. Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Another question from the floor.
Okay. Just one item. First of all, the first, and I'm going to stutter all over the place. I'm sorry, but the first thing is that the MySpace equals iWeb thing is like nails on the chalkboard comparing iWeb to the cesspool of humanity.
Yeah, totally.
Well, no, I agree. What I was saying is, it's a clean MySpace that I would have. My kids.
But it's not MySpace.
No, you understand. I have a 13-year-old who has a page on MySpace.
Point, I think. His point is that it's nothing like MySpace.
Well, that's not true because I think we're just comparing it to if you know what MySpace is.
I can tell my 13
tool, and it has, you share music and you make friends.
I could tell my 13-year-old, you can use this. You may no longer use MySpace.
Well, are you saying?
Oh, that'd be cool.
Are you saying that it's MySpace that brought the dirty, nasty people? There's no dirty, nasty people are going to show up on iWeb. That's a heck of a thing for.
Well, that's the thing. It's not the same. What do you mean on iWeb? It's a web design program. MySpace is a website.
All right, I'm sorry I mentioned it.
It's okay.
I thought.
But okay, if we're getting it right, you're comparing it to the web design tools in MySpace.
No.
No.
I'm saying that my kids think that making your own web page means.
My kids are iKids.
iKids.
iKids is patented. Trademark.
I'll get the cease and desist. Think that making a web page means going to MySpace and making a web page there. Now I can say, no. Look, you can do all of that just as easily in a better environment. And that's
Dad, we're not in MySpace anymore.
Well,
this sucks.
that's what they're going to say. They're going to say none of my friends are on over here, and they're all in MySpace. So
yeah.
Well, they can use Dad's account.
Actually, one of the things we saw at Web 2.0 was they talked about the average spending habit for consumer electronics and consumables and crap, and 17-year-olds are spending more on it than you and I are. It's a little.
But isn't MySpace free?
Yeah, so forget I mentioned
$99
MySpace.
versus free.
Forget it. That was a bad idea. It's going to take.
But Jonathan's point is, why compare the sophisticated, brilliant tools inside of iWeb? Am I getting it so far? Am I spinning it? But here's my question for you. People make crap out of MySpace because they pick horrible things and they tile them on there and they do weird pictures and they blow up and they pick horrible fonts. Can I not do crappy design inside of iWeb if I want to?
Most definitely.
Excellent.
So it's exactly the same.
Your second point, sir.
I just had one other thing. As with this transition that we're going over, I'm a little slow on the page here. I'm just still trying to catch up with everything. With this transition over to the OS 10 on the Intel, what I've noticed when I do like a format and reinstall on a Windows XP machine is that like for a customer, like over a period of a year, when I go back and visit them, even if they've not downloaded a ton of crap onto the machine, it's slower.
Yeah.
So I mean, we're talking about all the speed, but are we going to be hitting the same type of wall?
I don't think that's an Intel problem. I think that's an OS problem.
I agree.
I don't think it's going to get slower because it's
Well,
Intel.
you can build bulletproof Windows machines.
Yeah, you just make sure they can't log in as administrator.
That's part of it.
But
that's inconvenient.
But yeah, I'm just referring to the build itself on OS 10. Are we built to handle?
No, I think it'll be fine. I don't think Intel makes any difference in that regard.
By the way, you want to know something weird that they did not say at the keynote? We've already heard that Photoshop, as Steve Jobs said, it's okay if you open this $900 program once in a while, but all the people who actually have to use it, you won't be able to do it until. Well, there's a bunch of things that Phil Schiller later said will not run in it, like any video editing programs, including Final Cut.
Will not run at all.
Will not run
until they release their dual binary.
Correct.
You're referring to the OS as the $900?
I'm talking about Photoshop. I'm talking about, he was referring to this large group of casual users who've dropped $600 on a program.
Well,
but they're allowing for.
I know a lot of people use Apple products is for those tools.
Well, that's right, and that's what they're saying is the pros should stick with PowerPC, and you'll be able to move down the road.
6 months.
I got another hint of that when I talked to somebody from Apple about getting Word running. He said it was a bear. I think there's a lot of tweaking that has to be done of Rosetta to itself to get these programs to run. Just like with Wine, for instance, in order to get a program to run in Wine, you have to really kind of tweak Wine. I think that's probably what it is. I think it's not. In other words, it's not automatic.
So he's got the right advice then. Don't buy these machines for the next.
If you're a pro user, no. In fact, I was talking to Alex Lindsay. He said, "Well, I can't upgrade because I use Final Cut. I'm not going to. It's not time to get an Intel." But if mostly what you use is the Apple products that come with OS 10.
But he was also saying anything where timing or syncing is important, and this would also mean Digital Performer and Pro Tools and all these more pro stuff.
So you're coming out publicly and saying this is a turkey?
What's in your filter, man?
I'm just.
It ain't coffee, baby.
I didn't say anything like that.
I'm just listening to you complain about the fact that nothing that's really a quality product will run on this thing.
I had a briefing with Schiller later. I thought I would share with the people.
No, I think this is great. This is fascinating.
Jobs did not say this, and as you just said, it's only a matter of a few months until these guys make these apps compatible with the Intel processor natively. But for now, this is something that people should know.
This is what speaks, though, to what Patrick was saying, which is don't be the first to buy this thing. Wait and see what these little issues.
Patrick's not going to buy one anyway.
Well, I know, but what these little issues are, because there may well be more issues. And now already we're hearing, well, yeah, a lot of programs won't run on the Intel. A lot of Mac programs won't run on the Intel Macs. That's a big deal.
Yeah, but Steve did say we are going to port all our professional apps. I can't
by
remember
March,
exactly.
he said.
By March.
So
that's soon.
Yeah, it's not terribly far away. So you'll have Final Cut, you'll have Logic, and I can't remember what the other.
Right. Well, that's what I was gonna. That's what I was gonna point.
February, work in March.
Buy a copy of XP Pro and dual boot.
Well, there was one Pro app that I use, which is Soundtrack Pro. It sounds like that will not run. If I get one of the new Macs, it will not run well because that's very timing specific. That's any music program, it sounds like, would have trouble.
Sounds like.
Yeah.
You can
Finale
use
should be all
Garage
right.
But just that's just the one last thing, and I'll leave you alone. But MacWorld is usually attuned to like the consumer apps and consumer computers and all that, and so
that's what we saw tonight.
Right, and so basically when we start seeing these pro machines, that's when we'll probably see the kick for the software, which is why he mentioned the cross grade for like $149 per app.
$49.
49. Okay,
Yeah.
shoot.
That's a good deal. I mean, if you're a final, I guess it is. You already paid $18,000 for the program, but
I just want to give a shout out to the MacAddict people who told me to come here.
So MacAday people,
MacAddict forums.
Mac Addict.
Oh, MacAddict.
I can't pronounce.
You had it on the wrong
anything.
syllable. Okay.
Are you from Canada?
Easy.
MacAddict.
MacAddict.
Thank you.
I like it.
It sounds like some sort of a sounds sounds lewd.
It does sound lewd. Hello, I am with Mechadict.
Is that Victor? Yeah.
Hey, Victor.
Hi. So just building up an old horse here in iWeb. I just wonder how is this page going to show up on a Windows PC and Explorer, Because
that's a good question.
It's a lot like Dreamweaver in the old days. It was like, oh, you can just drag your photos over here. It's going to show up fine, and then you press F12 and it looks like trash.
I think Steve addressed it in the keynote.
Work fine on Safari, but when I send it to my
I think Steve addressed that in the keynote, and he said it works well on. In fact, he said Internet Explorer specifically as well as Firefox.
And he said Firefox as well.
Yeah. I think he said any modern browser, which means it's using a lot of CSS. I would imagine.
Yeah, Ajax, he said.
And Ajax as well. Yeah.
Because whenever you try to make a page, it's hell to make it work well in every browser.
Well, and that's something that Dreamweaver does very well, which is does browser checking and makes sure that it degrades properly and so forth.
So the Java backend makes everything gel.
Yeah, it puts a lot of Java in there saying, what's the browser? All right, I can't do this, I can't do that.
And the other thing is, they're still selling like PowerBooks for the same price, and the 15 PowerBook is the same price as the 15.
It's the same price. I think it's a great deal. It's 5 times faster.
So I wonder, what do you guys think about that? Why are they still selling the PowerBooks at the same price?
What do you want to raise the price, or do you mean the old one? Oh, by the way, it was $9.58 where you said Ajax.
Patrick, I noticed
good work.
Along those lines, Patrick, he used the spec benchmarks. He used spec in and spec floating point. Those are synthetic benchmarks. Are they considered?
All benchmarks are synthetic.
Well, there's some that use applications, right?
Yeah, but even application-based benchmarks can be spun and tweaked.
Right.
If he's using,
spec is not what I would call, or is it a good, useful benchmark?
Well, okay. Think about it this way: you can build a car and run it in a quarter mile, right? Or you can take the engine out and put it on a machine and run it that way, right? And you can guesstimate the horsepower either way. You know what I mean? You can get the horsepower off a dyno, and you've got a great number for horsepower. But if you change settings on the dyno or settings,
so that's essentially what the spec is doing.
Yeah, the spec is like a dyno number. It's like, ooh, it's 100% more, dead crap. Great.
And to Steve's credit, he said, but now that's not the full power of this machine because his hard drives aren't faster,
So
etc.
do you think that Steve maybe would use benchmarks that made his stuff look better?
Maybe.
Well, look, there's a long history in every hardware manufacturer on the planet of spinning things as best they can.
Really?
It's true, John.
That's why when I used it and it felt so much
I was
faster,
just going to say,
that's the real
none of this
test.
makes any difference. All you have to do is pick up the mouse and try it, and you're like, wow,
I've
this is
always
fast.
believed that the best way to tell is when you feel if it's faster. You
And
can
it does.
sense it. And I've always felt it was the better benchmark.
It emphatically
numbers.
It emphatically feels faster.
The web stuff is unbelievable. And I asked Phil, my buddy Phil.
iWeb or .web?
Safari.
The Webbook Code Duo core.
And like he demoed in the keynote, pages just blink onto the screen. I was typing URLs I knew hadn't been cached, CNN.com, blink. And I thought that, a lot of that would have to do with the connection and the hard drive and the cache and all that stuff. But he said there's so much, actual processing, Java and whatnot, that it actually makes a big speed difference.
Yeah, those previous systems must have been slow as dirt.
Chris Breen, did you notice? I noticed this in the keynote. In fact, right at front, at the beginning, I said he's using an iMac, and this is the fastest. I said there must be something. There's a Cray underneath the desk. It didn't. Did you know? I mean, immediately I noticed that. What's going on?
Well, and that's when I suspected they're running the
mail just popped up. I mean,
anytime Steve does anything, it's never slow unless he wants it to be.
Right.
So invariably, they're running some kind of hardware up there. So I suspected they were running a new Intel machine of some kind. I was far enough back that I couldn't see exactly what he was doing up there, but particularly when he brought out the new iPhoto and had 25,000 things and like butter.
Yeah.
And it really was.
Yeah, butter.
It scrolled like butter.
Scrolled like butter.
That's a T-shirt, people.
So we have another smaller element here that's going to ask a question.
A little twit, a little baby twit.
Like on all the rumor sites, they said, they're going to update the iBook and the Mac Mini first with the Intel processors. But why didn't they do that? And it seems like Apple would want to do that first, just kind of ease into the transition. But the PowerBook is more the Pro laptop, and the iMac's kind of mid-range. So do you have any idea why they did that?
They basically just wanted to teach the rumor sites a lesson.
Yeah, that's right.
Actually, they did it so you and I can't afford to buy one yet.
No, I have a thought on this.
Somebody just asked, what's your podcast, kid?
So, Jeffrey, I think that what you see is Steve Jobs is kind of a guy who likes repeat success. And when he took the company over again, the first thing he came out was with an iMac. And so I think he's just basically doing, essentially following the same pattern he did before. That little one will come out last.
Okay, like the Mac Mini.
Do you have a podcast, Jeffrey?
Well, me and my friend used to do one a long time. Well, not
a long time ago.
When he was 3.
Early days of the podcast. Yeah, he's beyond it now.
What have you moved on to? Because I'd like to know, because I want to get into it.
Now he runs Kittysoft.
Well, my friend really likes RuneScape, so it's more his podcast than mine, so I just kind of set it up for him.
So what you're saying is you're a producer more than talent.
Get him a T-shirt.
Can you come over and set up my home theater?
Thanks, Jeffrey. Appreciate it.
15 years from now, we will be working for him.
Yeah, maybe sooner.
Never know.
So I did actually. Amber and I talked to the Mac Mini product manager, and asked him actually that very question, and he didn't say anything.
Is he really, really little?
Yeah, he's tiny.
You know what's interesting? He actually used to work at Shuttle PC until January, which is another actually very cool. It's the only cool PC, really. It's a little box PC. Yes. And obviously Apple said, we're going to do a little computer. You want to come over? But obviously, I mean, I would say it's pretty clear that that's the next kind of media center. I think they're still going full speed ahead on that.
I think it's a pretty typical move for most. Anytime you're going to launch a new chip like that, you want to show off its best side and the fastest hardware, and obviously it was needed, and it's good to see. I mean, everyone sounds pleased with the performance. You guys sound like you're really
well,
excited.
here's the thing that kills me. I have a dual 2 gigahertz tower, and now
this
it's
is all you've been complaining about the whole show.
Have I already said that?
You're trying to give it away.
Why don't you pitch your book or something? But there's been a crying need for. I mean, people on the Mac side have been crying about the PowerBook's power
One
for a
glass
long time.
of wine.
It's sort of that. The pro users who are portable people have said, we really have got to have this, and we're never going to put a G5 in this. So please, please, please. And I think Apple really wanted to deliver on the high end in the portable side. So I think
have a big first quarter.
Well, they will.
Essentially, I mean, the iBook users don't care quite so much. They don't have to be as fast as possible, but the people that are buying the professional portables do.
Seriously, Leo, you have about 3 days to get that thing up on eBay.
I know, I'm moving. I know, it's going to drop off. You know, one of the things that, one of the reasons that I was about to get on the ledge, John, when they announced the Intel thing, was I thought of the Osborne effect. I thought they'll never sell another Apple, until they come out with the Intels, and that's not so. In fact, they had the biggest quarter in Apple history last quarter. They sold more product, not less product. What do you attribute to that?
Yeah, but that was the iPod.
Well, no. I think he's talking about Mac sales as well. We're up. So
it's in there somewhere.
He sold a lot of Mac. I think they said it was a large. Oh well, I can't read your transcript. So.
Also, the thing about all these
great transcript.
I've heard that a lot today. In fact,
there was no Osborne effect apparently.
Right, and there isn't one because think about it. Let's say you're one of these people who says, "Ooh, I like that new PowerBook. I'm not going to buy a PowerBook now." So everyone's like, "Ooh, Apple's dead. They're not going to sell any PowerBooks until this one comes out in March, right?" So. But it's just a delayed purchase. Then when it comes March, they will buy it. Right. So I don't understand what the big fuss is. It's not like that people are switching to Windows because it's going to take 2 more months.
I've never been totally convinced that Osborne effect actually existed. It happened with Osborne because this product that they announced, they didn't get it out in time. I mean, they had all this announcement, and there was also a lot of competition that they were facing. Right. I'm not absolutely sure. I mean, I know what the Osborne effect is supposed to be, which is, for people out there who were just listening now, is that, and this actually, the real time that this happened was with North Star Computers some years earlier, when they announced a double density controller card at the same exact price. At the same exact price as the single density card, but they couldn't ship it. But people stopped buying the single density cards. Say, why am I going to? I'll just wait for the double. It's the same price, and the company almost went broke. And this has since become the Osborne effect because he did something similar.
It really did go broke.
But they didn't have any other products either. I mean, Apple, if they stopped selling all the other stuff, they could just coast on their iPod sales. So I mean, it's not going to really hurt the company one way or the other.
Brought up, isn't the pricing right now the same as the previous hardware? So that right then and there, it's like, okay, I'm going to get something that's twice as fast as you guys are saying.
That's pretty good.
I'm waiting. But
Yeah.
Apple was
this is honestly the first time I actually considered it.
Apple was up
That was
$4 a
five.
share today.
So
what?
5%. Yeah.
Better value.
82?
Yeah.
Apple's at 82.
This is post-split, no less.
Yeah.
Wow.
Buy on
So
good
it's
news,
really
sell on
164.
bad news. Or no, just the other way.
So I could never figure that out. This is why John is
that's why
no longer
that's
a
why I'm
Dominican
here.
priest. We've run out of time. I can't believe it. I'm getting the wrap-up signal. I haven't seen that since the screensavers. So that's we have a hard limit of an hour and 20 minutes. Otherwise, AOL can't burn this to a CD.
For the 70-minute.
I wish I were joking. I really do.
Hey, makes sense to me.
We really want to thank the great folks at the Zeum who've been really wonderful to us. This is a great theater, isn't it? If you're in San Francisco, come visit it. It's a fun museum, a really great museum for kids, but really a lot of fun. Also to the San Francisco School for Digital Filmmaking, who provided us with a lot of technical help today. They did a great job. If it weren't for them, there'd be no two shots of me and John, so we want to thank them for also, of course, want to thank the folks at AOL Radio for providing us with the bandwidth for this podcast and for airing the podcast. Maybe not this one, but most of the other podcasts on AOL Radio's podcast channel at AOLmusic.com. David Pogue, I'm glad you came back. Glad you made it. We really appreciate it. And I will see you tomorrow morning for MacWorld Live. David has a little show.
You'll be on my show.
Ooh, I'm in trouble now. Patrick Norton, back to DLTV. I hear you have some encoding to do.
Encoding and uploading to do.
You've got some encoding to do, Ricky. John C. Dvorak, I think we go back to Fringal now, right?
Yeah, let's go drink some wine.
All right, some more wine. Amber MacArthur, it's been great having you. We're going to go off and we've got to go tape Mac Break, which is our new Macintosh show, which will debut next week. It will be the first, I think, once we actually do a 1080p podcast. That's going to be a large file. Okay. It's going to be a large download. Everybody's leaving already. And Chris Breen from MacWorld Magazine, the Mac Daddy, great to have you.
Thanks for having me. It was great.
We'll see you up in Toronto sometime soon. I hope you come up and see us. And we'll see you on the cruise.
Yeah.
Actually, we shouldn't talk about that. David isn't going on.
More plugs.
He's kind of bitter about it.
In 3 weeks, we go on MacMania 4, which will be a lot of fun. I hope to have my iMac by then. I can't get a PowerBook by then. I'll just pack the iMac. And Robert Heron from DLTV and PC Magazine. It's great to have you. And it was great to have you guys in the audience. You were a lot of fun. Thank you very much for joining us today. Another TWiT is in the can. This Week in Tech. This Week